Well, after a cancelled race weekend in Italy, we are back this weekend for Monaco. It's the first time on the F3 calendar, but let's also take a look at round three of how the F1 Academy got on last week in Barcelona. Welcome back to episode 12 of Formula Talk. Today we are here to discuss F1 Academy and to preview Formula 2 and Formula 3 in Monaco. Just before we begin, we do have to give a super duper mega shout out to our sponsor, Bet Online. So, as most of you will be aware, we are obviously sponsored by Bet Online, and Bet Online is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. They're the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. Bet Online is your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. That includes basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, as well as UFC and boxing. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games, which you can play right from your home. Head to the website today, that is betonline.ag, or you can use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BLEAV, that is BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. And please always gamble responsibly. Just before we begin as well, if you enjoy this podcast, we would love it if you could take 5 to leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Also, if you're one of the 72 people who are not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider helping us out with a like and a subscribe. So now that the formalities are out of the way, as always, Formula Talk, you're probably thinking, if you listen to this, you're probably thinking, oh, hang on, that's not Sophia. Has she got hay fever? Is she ill? Well, she does have hay fever. She does have hay fever, as you just heard. But of course she is here. And once again, I'm joined by Sophia, the brainchild behind Formula Talk. So aside from hay fever even, how are you, my friend?
As I sniff on cue. Minus the hay fever. I've been battling for nearly a week now, so it is what it is. I'm just happy race is back. Obviously, we had a bit of racing this weekend with IndyCar, Indy 500 qualifying, and get to see like some of the highlights of F1 Academy. But I'm excited. We're in Monaco. Might not be the best track to race in, but it makes it very interesting in F2 and F3, especially with F3 coming for the first time ever in Monaco in their calendar. So I can't wait. And obviously it's also Indy 500 as well this weekend. So going to be flicking through both of the channels throughout towards the end of the F1 Monaco race and switching over to the Indy 500 right after as well. But I'm excited.
Oh yeah, so it's always this weekend in motorsport. It's certainly going to be a big weekend, isn't it?
I think Le Mans on as well, if I'm not corrected.
I believe it is this weekend. Yes, so it's yeah. So
it's not. It's June 10th. So got a bit of a time.
The ones late. I was going to say I was going to say Fernando Alonso's not going to know where to look this weekend with all three, with all three Triple Crown races on. But oh god, yeah. Well, it's not the first time that he would have skipped F1 in Monaco. But if you listen to our sister show, Grid Talk, you can hear all about our predictions there. Cheeky plug. But looking at F1 Academy, we're just going to give a quick rundown of what happened over the last weekend. So obviously, F2 and F3, everything was rained off in Imola. But they were still racing, even if Formula One don't really know how to broadcast it, and we're not going to get into that again. So, do you want to give us a quick rundown of qualifying, how it polled out? I was going to say how it panned out. Yeah, sorry, you can tell. Always got motorsport on the mind me. Yes, do you want to give us a quick run through of the two quali sessions from Barcelona?
So we have two new pole sitters this weekend. So we had. In the first qualifying, which takes place for race 1 and for race 2, reverse grid, it was Emily DeHus from MP Motorsport and Lena Buller that took the second round of qualifying. So pretty much starting off with within the first 6 minutes of the 15-minute session, with the last 6 minutes of the 15-minute session, 11 cars were yet to actually set a meaningful lap, with the expectation that the times would come tumbling down in the final few minutes. Abipoli was able to launch to the top of the standings with a 1:42.425, which was closely followed by ART Grand Prix driver Carrie Schreiner. The first to break the 141s was Hamda for MP with a 141.8 even, followed closely by her teammate Emily de Heus with a 141.832. Pretty much pulling didn't give up with that. She was able to strike back with a 141.594 before the Dutch drivers both responded, with Emily taking pole with a 141.344, followed by Lena Buller in P2 with a 141.379. Looking at the rest of the qualifying one, top 8 gets reversed for the first part of the race. So top 3 were Emily, Lena, and then Abby, followed by Hamda, Marta Garcia, Bianca Bustamante, Amda Alcabasi, and Nina Marti, which means Nina Marti will start race 2 at pole, given that she finished P8 in our first qualifying. Second qualifying on the same day, very similar to the first, which is having many of the drivers waiting for the last possible minutes to do their flying tracks once the track continued to rub it in. Campos Racing Lola Lafont led the way with a 41.684 before pulling went faster than anyone had in Q1, having a 141.290. Wow, definitely towards the end of the day is probably the best time to go out in qualifying, especially at Barcelona. And lots were going on in Barcelona, just not F1 Academy as well. I think Sprecher was there, and he had a few other racing motorsports there. So lots of action on the track, and can easily rub it down on the track for it. With a few able to improve on their personal best, Lena Buller was able to set off on her final lap. The Swiss driver clocked a 140.870, taking her maiden pole position and secured a front row start for both race 1 and race 3. Series leader Martina Garcia was able to settle for P3 for qualifying 2 and P5 for qualifying 1, which is working to protect her 26-point advantage over second place Hamda Alkhabasi. However, that does change throughout this weekend. So qualifying 2, the top 4, I should say, is Lena Buller, Hamda, Martina Garcia, and Abby Pulling. So all different teams as well in the top 4. Where's the last one? I think the only one was Prema, and the highest, Martina Garcia's Prema. Campos is the last team, and their best driver was Nina Marti, that would be starting P8. Now, let's look at the 3 races, and back to you, Tom.
Oh, so much so. And gotta say, with hay fever, well done, mate. Well done.
I can't hear anything as well, so I don't even know how this is going to sound out. My ears are so blocked right now.
No, fair play. You know, hay fever was no joke. I don't really suffer from it, thankfully, but no. Just looking quickly at race 1. So we're not going to give a full blow-by-blow detail of every single race, because we will be here until, probably until this time next week. And we do have day jobs to be getting on with, especially as we're recording this well, it's currently 12 on a Tuesday. Just looking at race 1. So Emily de Heus, finally, well, I say finally, she got her first win in F1 Academy. She started on pole position, held her nerve, really good win. She was overtaken initially by Lena Buller, who, you've got to say, got an absolutely insane launch off the line. It was sort of reminiscent of Valtteri Bottas circa 2017 in Austria, where it was blink and you miss it. It looked like she'd it honestly looked like she jumped the start at one point. But no, the Heus did well. Fends off her teammate Hamda Al-Kubaisi, and the Heus held on to P2. They all had a pretty good start, and then ultimately the Heus really not giving up. She was then setting fastest laps as she was catching up with Buller. Eventually, then, as we got into the latter stages of the race, sadly, Hamda Al-Kubaisi. One day I'll get that right. I do apologise. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. Hamda very sadly had to retire, so she peeled into the pits, which brought the pack a little bit closer together. She was holding fastest lap as well, but Leonard Buller, she had built up a 3-second leader over to Hoyce. However, fate struck once again, and Leonard Buller she had no issue. She had no option but to pull over and retire. That meant Emily de Hoy she then inherited the lead. Ultimately, she then held on and claimed her first win of the season, from pole position. So there was a little bit of fortune, but not taking away from anything, because Emily de Hoyce was really closing in on both Leonard Buller and then also fending off from Hamda Al-Kubaisi. As the old saying goes, to finish first, you must finish, and that is exactly what she did. So that does see de Hoyce move up a little bit on the on the grid, and that leads us nicely into race 2. So if we just look quickly at race 2, Amna Al-Kubaisi, she took her second win of the season. So she started once again P2 once again. Had an absolutely fantastic launch. She overtook the Campos driver of Nevermarty and moved into P1. Those two then did a sort of Mercedes 2020, where they just sailed off into the lead. They built a plus 1 second gap. I think it's 1.2, 1.3 second gap between themselves and P3, who I believe was Marta Garcia in P3. And then you also had Abby Bulling, made a good start, and Leonard Buller, who was looking to get a bit of retribution for the DNF in race 1, as was Al-Kubaisi. And Al-Kubaisi, she just led from the front, really. She was then putting in fastest laps. Her teammate and sibling, Hamda Al-Kubaisi, she suffered a little bit at the start, and she actually fell a bit further back. The race, the race panned out pretty much as you'd expect. Hamna Al-Kubaisi ultimately held on for the lead, did a pit stop, and then brought home her second win of the season. So all in all, so far a weekend of contrasting fortunes. Now let's just have a quick look at race 3 and talk about a bit of retribution. So we said obviously there were 2 DNFs in race 1, and the one DNF had a successful race 2, and then the other DNF of Leonard Buller, she bounced back in quite spectacular fashion by securing her maiden F1 Academy win, and it was a pretty dominant win, to be fair. So she got a perfect start. Held the lead into turn 1. For once, we didn't have an MP Motorsport of Al-Kubaisi in P2 making a better start, and Leonard Buller just led from lights to flag pretty much. Really solid race, and then brought it home. Thankfully, didn't have a mechanical issue this weekend, and brought it home to finish P1 and claim her maiden win in Formula Academy. So I appreciate that was a little bit of a, shall we say, whistle stop tour of the quality result. Of the race results. So, do you want to give us a quick update on the standings then for Formula Academy? Because obviously, with 3 races a weekend, it gets a bit confusing.
Yeah, definitely. With 9 races now completed, and we've had 6 different pole winners, the P1 winners, it's definitely changed the standings. Marta Garcia actually still leads it, given the fact that she placed she scored points every single race this weekend. She's currently with 135 points, followed by Hamda after having a decent race 3, but obviously not the best race 1 and okay race 2. She's with 94 points. So Marta Garcia has a bit of a bigger gap instead of 26 points now. for the lead. It's math 41. I think. 41.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, brain fog. Followed that, given the fact that Lena Buller was able to take the win and also took fastest lap, she was able to move up to third place with 83 points, so not that far off from Hamda, even though she did not have points in race 1 and very low points in race 2. Abby Pulling, having a great weekend, securing points in all 3 races, moves up to 4th with 77 points. And then top 5, finishing up top 5 is Amda, who secured points throughout this race weekend. Now, F1 Academy, there's a bit of a break. We actually don't come back to F1 Academy until June 23rd, where we will be going to Zandvoort. So that one's going to be quite a good one, given the fact that they've never tested there. It's a really good track with the bankings. I'm excited for that, but that'll be way down the line in Formula Talk episodes, because we're definitely going to have a handful of episodes before that, discussing more F2 and F3 and also potentially other series, because there's a bit of a break potentially for it. So we'll be in a month's time talking about F1 Academy. Now, as mentioned, we got rained out last week at Imola, and again, all thoughts to everybody that's from the area and has been affected by the weather there. So with that, we are now back in Monaco, which is obviously one of the pinnacle locations in F1, and it's a dream for F2 and F3 drivers as well. I've seen some of these clips, and they're like, I just want to win Monaco. Like, what's better, the World Championship or Monaco? And some of them are saying Monaco is how it is. So we're back for F2. F2's been at Monaco every year since the start, so dating back to 2017. It follows the same structure as F1 when it comes to the corners and DRS zones and sectors. The fastest lap was set in the first year of 2017 by Charles Leclerc when he was racing for Prema with a 1:19.309. Now, it's a bit of a change of structure for F2 and F3 for qualifying in Monaco, given that it is so narrow and there's a lot of drivers. They actually split off qualifying into qualifying A and qualifying B, and they're both 14-minute windows for that. And pretty much the fastest times from both of them combined determine the grid for the race weekend. So looking at the qualifying, because how they structured it on the website is obviously not really the best, but it was actually Felipe Drugovich that took the fastest time out of both of the groups with a 1:21.348. Followed by that, I want to say, was Jack Doohan, with a 1:21.342, and then Liam Lawson with a 1:21.499. Now, it looks like, as well with the timing, those top 3 all came from Group A, so the morning session, earlier session, then Group B, but then Group B took P4 and P5 and P6, so it's like 3 and 3 kind of just swapping within each other for setting the grid for the sprint and feature race. Once again, as well, top 10 do reverse for the sprint race, and the full point feature race is determined by the final set of qualifying. Well, Tom, what happened last one? Because we have one driver who's won the sprint, still racing in F2, and we have a feature race winner last year who is now a reserve driver for Aston Martin in F1. So do you want to give a rundown on how the podiums were for that?
Yeah, let's take a quick look at F1 in F1, cut a life. F2 in Monaco last year. So in qualifying Group A or quali Group 1, on pole position we had Felipe Drugovich, and then, like you said, we had Jack Doohan and Liam Lawson in Group A. In Group B, obviously Teo Pourchaire, Yuri Vips, and Emerson Fittipaldi. So, looking at the sprint race, our top 3, we had Dennis Hauger won the sprint race with Johan de Ruvela, a good 6.5, 7 seconds behind him in P2, and then rounding out the podium was Marcus Armstrong, racing for High Tech. Just looking through the rest of the top 10, we had Emerson Fittipaldi. I do that every time.
Every time.
Yeah. Sorry. I see E Fittipaldi, and my brain just goes, "Oh yeah, Emerson Fittipaldi. Yeah, I'll be impressed if he was in Formula Two, given everything he won in F1." No, Enzo Fittipaldi, obviously related to Emerson Fittipaldi. We then have Yuri Vips. We then had Teo Pourchaire, Jack Doohan, and Liam Lawson in the top 8, and then running at the top 10 in P9, the GOAT himself, Roy Nassani, and then in P10, a name who you might recognise from F1 this year, Logan Sargent. So taking us to the feature race then, just looking at the, looking at the top 10, we have Felipe Drugovich, who won the feature race. He was joined on the podium by Teo Pourchaire and Yuri Vips. Teo Pourchaire only 0.8 seconds behind Felipe Drugovich in the feature race. Yuri Vips was quite a way back. He was 8 seconds behind Teo Pourchaire, but 4 seconds ahead of the man in P4, Jack Doohan. Then looking at the rest of the top 10, we had Enzo Fittipaldi. Yes, I did have to think about that before I said it. In P5, Marcus Armstrong in P6, Dennis Hauger in P7, with Johan Reuvel in P8. Running at the top 10, we have Logan Sargent in P9, and then Miko Sato in P10. Sophia shaking her head at me. Mario Sato. Oh my god! Honestly, I do apologize for listening. I honestly,
not related to Takuma Sato, though.
Not related to Takuma Sato as well. Yeah. Yes, apologies. So that was the top 10 from the feature race at Monaco last year. So, F2 Monaco, it seems like a recipe for disaster, and it sounds like it. And you would think it's going to be one where it's going to generate content for all the motorsport crash compilation channels on YouTube. So just looking at that, give me some predictions for F1 Monaco this weekend. So can you poll your podiums in the sprint and the feature race, and a poll prediction if it's different from any of those?
Okay, yeah. I think poll. Just because obviously it's been an iconic, and I think experience is going to be more than skill. I think in Monaco, I think Teo Pourchaire will take pole, given that he kind of needs. He does well in the feature races, so like he does well in qualifying and everything as well over this season and last season a bit as well. So I think he's going to take pole. I think sprint podium. Ooh. Let's see. I think because it'll be reverse, I want to say Ralph Boschon takes P3 because I think he will be quite close to the reverse grid from qualifying, followed by Dennis Hauger, given that he has won in sprint. And let's go Ollie Behrman. Let's have a rookie on the podium for P1. We're going to see. He's never raced in Monaco, so it'll be quite interesting to see. Feature race, I will say Teo, because if you start on pole, you normally finish at P1 in Monaco because it's very difficult to overtake. Followed by, let's go... God, I don't know. This is maybe Jack Doohan. Let's say Jack Doohan because he has done quite a decent last year, but he didn't obviously have the best weekend in Baku. So maybe it's redemption. And I normally say this person as in my podium, but I might change that given it's not been the best couple of rounds. But I do think it will be a rookie, and I do think it will be his teammate of Enzo Fittipaldi in P3. Bold predictions. I think there will be I say this every time, no DNFs by mechanical failure. I'm saying that because I'm assuming there will be maybe a few close calls and a few crashes, especially how narrow and tight it is and how these guys like to get their elbows out. But yeah, I think no DNFs by mechanical failure in either the sprint or the feature race. What about you?
Okay, that's interesting. And okay, you specified no DNFs due to mechanical Yeah, just
I'm being very specific now. I can't just say no DNFs because I would have won this a prediction battle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be fair. Someone is going into the wall at Sanderford at some point this weekend.
Fair enough. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fair.
Yeah. So you look at me. It's like, so if you really think nobody's going to prang it at turn 1 in Formula 2 in Monaco?
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. No. My predictions. I don't know. It's oh, I'm gonna agree with you on pole position. I think Teo Pochette because experience counts around here, and but then again, he needs. So I wonder if he might overdrive the car, and and then perhaps like lose at a Raskas or something. No, I'm gonna change. I'm gonna say Hans Ruvler for pole position, and then in the sprint race, I am going to say. I'm going to say, oh God, you're looking at me now. I'm going to say our podium is going to be Dennis Hauger because he won here last year. Ollie Behrman, and I'm going to say Iwasa. That's going to be a little bit out there. Then in the feature race, I'm going to say Derulo's going to hold his nerve off the line. He's going to lead in Sandoval, and away he goes. So I think he's going to win. P2, I'm going to say Teo Pochette because I think he will really push him. If he does start behind him, obviously. I think he'll be pushing him, but Monaco, tight, twisty. Everybody says not great for overtaking, which is just what you want to hear in a racing series. I think Pochette will push him, and then I am going to say Richard Vishaw on the podium as well, and then my bold prediction is in one of the sessions. So that's either qualifying one. That's either quali session A, B, or one of the races. Nobody puts it in the barrier.
Okay, so similar-ish.
Yeah, but I'm doing mine even broad. I'm not saying in a race. I'm saying in qualifying or a race, nobody puts in the barrier. Which you might be thinking, okay, yeah, well, whatever. But
wait. It's rumored to potentially rain as well in Monaco.
Oh God, let's not go
there. I think I saw that online.
Let's not go there.
Flashbacks from last year.
Yeah. Flashbacks intensify. But joining F2 this weekend, we're talking about carnage in F2. We've got F3 in Monaco this weekend. So it's the first time we've ever had F3 in Monaco. So there's nothing to sort of like go off of. So we're just going to jump straight into some predictions. So go on then. Same again. Give me your prediction for pole, both your podiums, and a bold prediction.
Yeah, I've just quickly looked at the weather for Monaco this weekend. It's meant to be thundering and rain on Thursday, sunny on Friday, rain Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So that might even just like mess up our predictions and our discussion. Also, a driver that we didn't mention because it's his first ever home race is Arthur Leclerc as well, which is really bad. The Monegasque driver. Well, but we know Monaco for Monegasque drivers is not really the best.
Just ask your brother.
Yeah, I was going to say, i.e. Charles Leclerc. You can hear about that in Grid Talk. We talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, F3. Oh, this is anybody's game because half of the grid is rookies. They've never been there. They do follow the same structure of qualifying in 2 different groups. It's slightly bigger, the groups, and I think the time is a little bit more. Yeah, so it's 16 minutes, not 14 minutes, given that there's an extra 3 drivers on this grid compared to F2. I think on pole, I say Gabriele Bortoleto because he's absolutely crushing it. I think podium, though, for sprint race would be Oliver Guthert because he actually has won in Monaco. in I believe Frecker or like one of the lower divisions that he's raced in. So I think he will take podium because he does know that a little bit better compared to some of the drivers. But again, these cars are very different to previous disciplines. So he's my P1. I think P2 will be Gabriel Mini. And P3, let's go a little bit wild. Let's go, well, not wild ish. I think Sebastian Montoya will get P3 for Monaco. For feature, I think Gabriel will take the win because start to pole again, similar to my F2 predictions. And then I think it'll be Gregor Salsi that will take P2 and Zach O'Sullivan for P3. He had a decent race weekend in Melbourne. Obviously, it's such a long time since that. So as well, it's going to be quite interesting given the fact that we didn't race in Imola last week as well. So it's literally been what, a month and a half since our last time racing in F3. So it definitely will play into skills and experience, I think, in F3. My bold prediction is I want to say something, but it goes against what I'm gonna actually I think just trying to remember teams and everything as well. Actually, no, it goes. I was about to say both P1 positions are rookies, but that's the case anyway with my predictions. I think. I think four drivers who have scored 0 points so far this season will get points in either the feature or the sprint. Not saying who, because I don't want to be super specific, but right now, there's out of the 30 drivers, 18 below, starting with Hugh Barter, don't have any points whatsoever. You have a few drivers that only have 2 points, a few that only have like 1 or 2, but yeah, pretty much almost half the grid doesn't have points. Just under half the grid. I want to say probably like 40% of the grid, 38% of the grid doesn't have any points. So I think 4 drivers, either the sprint or feature, who don't have any points will get points this weekend coming. What about you?
Okay, that's a very interesting bold prediction. I mean, it's a it could happen. Let's say, let's see. So my pole position. I actually agree with you. I think Gabriel Bortoleto is gonna get pole. Yeah, he has had an absolute storming start to the season. And then my sprint race finishes. I'm going to say again. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say Oliver Goethe for P1, but then for P2, I'm backing the boy Luke Browning. Let's see if we can do it. See if we can do it. And then for P3, a little bit left field again because Zach O'Sullivan. That's
I said Zach as well. So
yeah. So that's maybe it's a bit sort of like wishful thinking. And then in the feature race, I think Gabriel Bortoleto is going to hold on to that win, and off the line. He's looked very, very strong this year so far, and he's only getting better. In P2, I'm going to say Gregoire Saucy, and P3, I am going to say Sebastian Montoya. And then my bold prediction, I'm going to go against a lot of what I've just said, a lot of what we talked about, and I'm going to say that F3 actually have a sort of crash-free weekend because they're all rather timid.
So pretty much almost the same as you.
Instead of saying nobody's going to put it in the water, all the rest of it, I think. My bold prediction is going to be really tame. Drivers aren't going to sort of, they're not going to push too much. They're not going to look for moves like maybe up the inside into the hairpin, through tobacco, into Santa Vot, through Rascas, whatever. Because I think perhaps most of the drivers will sort of be thinking, I'm just gonna sort of hold back and just keep, and they might have their engineers and team principals on the radio saying, just behave. So that's my those are my predictions, and that also brings us to an end for the show. So, obviously, if you're listening to this, you are aware of our sister show, Grid Talk. Sophie, is there anything else you want to promo or no?
I mean, pretty much, yeah, good talk.
Yeah. Grid Talk. That's pretty much it. So, in case you aren't already aware, Formula Talk is available on YouTube, where most episodes are recorded live, as well as Amazon Fire, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, Verbal, and Pocket Casts. Just search for Formula Talk, where you will find our back catalogue of shows. You can also find our sister show, Grid Talk, as mentioned, where things F1 are discussed, or all things F1 are discussed, even if there is no race. Please consider supporting the channel on Patreon so we can get better mics, lights, and recording equipment. Also, make sure you are subscribed so you're the first to know when each new weekly episode is released. We will be back next week for plenty more motorsport content. Thank you ever so much for listening, watching, and putting up with my waffling. Thank you for listening to the Grid Talk podcast presented by Bet Online, and goodbye.